Hello everyone and welcome back to Superboy Beyond, and we are trying something a little bit different this week. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to take two random episodes of Superboy, take their titles, and we're going to combine them, and then we're just going to discuss like what this episode could possibly be based on the title. So yeah, it could be, I'm just going to throw out some examples because I've got the list in front of me. We're not going to do these ones today, but maybe at some point, you know. You could do like mix Terror from the Blue with, I don't know, you could mix it with Alpha Centauri, you know, and make it Terror from Alpha Centauri. And it could be a story of an alien invader or something. And, you know, that's basically what it could be. Like, you know, Meet Mr. Mixtures Pitlick could end up becoming like Meet Brimstone. But I mean, that would basically be the exact same episode as Brimstone on its own. So there's no point. But, yeah, maybe we could do something like Darla Breaks Loose, where it's, maybe Darla has been arrested. She's in prison. We could do a prison break episode with Darla. That could be interesting. Are there any random 2-episode title combinations that you can think of the top of your head that you think might be interesting to... You know, there's going to be no real structure to this episode. We're just going to be throwing out ideas and discussing like different directions it could possibly go. Run, MicroBoy, run.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
I mean, that would be fun, you know.
Okay. Run, MicroBoy, run.
Okay. I mean, just off the top of my head, my first instinct with this story would be that there's a time-traveling assassin that's after him. And it's just like, because he's in the past, it would have to be a sequel to the original MicroBoy.
Right.
So, yeah, it would be a sort of Terminator-esque story, maybe.
Maybe the return of the assassin from Rest in Peace.
That could be interesting. I don't know. It could be fun, though, just to come up with someone new. I guess, though, a time-traveling assassin is very much just another Terminator ripoff, isn't it? So maybe it would be best to go in a slightly different direction.
All right. So
either way, MicroBoy's running from something.
Yeah. Why not set it modern day, or modern day for the show at the time? Hector has been dead, let's say 20, 30 years. And somebody digs up the body. Because they know what happened to him.
Yeah. Somehow they've worked it out. Maybe there's like a scene where we actually see this person discovering like an old photograph or something. I'm thinking of like that Lois and Clark episode where Tempest's diary is discovered from when they trapped him in the past. Maybe it's something like that. Somebody's seen the photo who knew Edgar, and it's just like they've worked out what happened somehow. Like MicroBoy appears, Hector disappears, and then there's a photo of him in the past where there were no microwaves.
Yeah,
but maybe like they've worked it out, and they're just like, this is interesting, and maybe they want powers too, so they want to steal his body somehow to do an experiment of some kind. I don't know.
But by bringing the body out into whatever, and they put it back into the canister that was at his mother's house, which
maybe they've stolen that. That could be fun.
Either stolen it or she just sold all of his crap.
She was horrible, wasn't she? I seem to remember. Yeah. So maybe, I can believe that. Yeah, they buy his chamber at a yard sale. Just imagine it on the front lawn. Yeah. Yep. Oh, what does this do? Oh, it gives you superpowers. Sold.
Yeah. And they, by infusing
he's going to come back to life somehow.
Yes. So that they start infusing the corpse with microwave energy, and it restores him to his youthful self.
That's interesting. And maybe it also, I don't know, maybe something about having spent all of that time in the past as microwave transmissions get more and more prevalent. Maybe it was kind of a situation where he was building up a tolerance to it in some way that was basically preventing him from becoming unstable again.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe it was just too much for him all at once when he first got his powers. But now that the world has just slowly been changing, maybe it's been a little bit easier. Maybe he's actually got more control over it this time. Can you stop pulling the towel off my chair now?
And maybe at first it restores him fully, but now his body starts breaking down because he is just a walking corpse.
I'm picturing like a Frankenstein-esque version of MicroBoy now, which would be really odd.
Or even a zombie version.
Yeah.
And maybe Professor Peterson is there and he says, I don't know how many zombie movies you've watched, Superboy, but there's a good chance that we might have an outbreak.
Yeah, and maybe it could be fun that... Stop! Maybe it could be fun to, have that be their initial concern. But maybe by the time they've actually caught up with MicroBoy, who is just on the run because people keep trying to kill him because they think he's a zombie, maybe when Superboy actually does catch up with him, he realizes, like, no, like, mentally, he's still all there. He's still the same guy. And then, the episode could end with trying to find some way to save him. Maybe they find, Lex Luthor found a way to swap bodies. Maybe there's like a way they could clone him a new body or something. I don't know. Superboy always had slightly advanced technology for the time, especially Peterson.
Or even better, he loses control of his faculties briefly and he kills his mother. So maybe that's why he's on the run.
Yeah. Maybe he went home just because he wanted to see. Or maybe there was something in his lab that he needed. Maybe he thought he, could stabilize his body somehow.
And in the
But
process,
she sold everything, and maybe he finds out she sold everything, and like in a fit of rage, like he accidentally kills her or something. Maybe she has like a shotgun in his face, and she's like saying like you're a zombie. I've got to put you down or something like that. And it's just like he pushes her aside. Maybe she breaks her neck by accident, like she falls. Like it's just to establish that all he was doing was pushing her aside so he could get out before she shot him in the face, but something's gone wrong, like $1 million baby type thing where it's just like a freak occurrence where the neck just snaps somehow. Maybe she like hits it on a desk or something as she's falling to the floor. And that would really, considering what he would look like at this point and what he's just accidentally done, especially if at first people aren't sure if it was murder or not, like that would explain why he's on the run. Yeah. Maybe they could just put him into one of Lex Luthor's robot bodies or something. Like maybe after Lex was arrested in that episode, Peterson was given all of his, all of his notes and stuff on how to do it. So he just builds him a new body or something, a robot body. Maybe instead of MicroBoy, by the end, he's, I don't know, this universe's version of Robot Man or something. That could be interesting. Or what's the one from Creature Commandos? GI Robot?
Yes.
Yeah, like maybe, I don't know, they end up having to send him back in time to try again. No, they wouldn't have to with a new body, so I don't know. But maybe we could still have some flashbacks to him in like World War II or something as an older fighter pilot or something. Maybe it would have to be World War One. Actually, thinking about it, because I'm not sure how much longer after the Wright brothers war broke out. He might have already been an old man by that point. I don't know.
Let's see.
History was never my thing, really.
Wright brothers' first flight, I think, was either 1903 or 1904.
Right, so at his age, he would still be about the right age to fight in World War One. Maybe not World War Two. He'd probably be a bit too old by then, because he would be like, 50-something years old. But yeah, maybe he was in World War One, and like he got the nickname. I don't know. Maybe he got the nickname GI Robot in World War One. It'd be a completely different origin for the character, and I don't know if that would just make it not worth doing. But maybe he's just a new robot man, or maybe better yet, we pull from the comics and he's I forget the name of the character, but that robot that Superboy built with the yellow and green costume that he fights.
Kator.
Yeah, maybe he turns him into Kator. That could be interesting. And it's like Kator in this universe has a human mind. Like that could be an interesting twist on a character that, as far as I know, only appeared once. But
technically twice, because there were two different versions of Kator.
Oh, okay. Well,
there was the robot, and then the robot transferred all of his powers into Carl Moosey Draper.
I'm just thinking of that character just purely because if you take the MicroBoy costume and swap the pink for green, it's basically that character's costume. So it kind of, even just visually, it's very similar. They're not one-to-one, but they're similar enough. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that would be fun.
Yeah.
And how do you think it should end? Do you think it would end with him actually becoming a superhero as Kator, or do you think he would retire and just look human but be a robot? Because let's face it, at this point, he's lived an entire lifetime. Let's not forget, like if anybody has a right to retire at this point, it's him. Like, we don't know how long he lived for, but
I think instead of having him retire or having him become a superhero, have him become a villain, a full-on villain. Because think about it. Okay, he's already lived a full lifetime.
That for the next one, though.
Right. But he's already lived a full-on life, has all of his faculties from that life.
Yeah.
His wife, Julianne, gone. And now he's trapped in the body of a robot. That's enough to make somebody who's already unhinged or was partially.
Yeah, he was definitely partially unhinged in the first place, because even just the way he gave himself powers was incredibly reckless. So that would make sense. Maybe, maybe at some point we'll do a follow-up to this episode where we just do his Breaking Bad arc. And maybe part of it is just the fact that he keeps seeing Lana around Schuster or Metropolis or wherever it ends up being by this point, because we've purposely not set this episode in any particular season. This could be season 4. It doesn't actually really matter where it is as long as it's post MicroBoy. But maybe just seeing Lana, who, let's not forget, looks identical to his dead wife now. That's gotta mess with your head a little bit. I mean, it was weird. It was kind of mind bending in the episode itself, but yeah.
Yeah, and there's the potential of him becoming a stalker.
And a super powered stalker is dangerous.
Yes.
So yeah, that would be MicroBoy Run. And I think that would be a fun episode. I really do. I think it's got all the elements that you would need. There would be some fight scenes. Like he would have to have a fight scene with Superboy at some point. Do you think it would be a 2-parter?
It probably would work best as a 2-parter because, honestly, the first MicroBoy episode really should have been a 2-parter.
Yeah.
Because that heel turn that he took was way too quick. They didn't.
Maybe the
You didn't
first
get
part
really.
is Run MicroBoy Run, and part two could be Scream MicroBoy Scream.
Ooh, I got perfect idea here.
Mm.
If he hadn't passed away at the time, I'm not sure when he did, but the scientist who's helping Peterson put him into the new robotic body, we have William Marshall. William Marshall is the actor who played Blackula.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
And
Because let's face it, Run Dracula Run was a reference to Blackula. So it would be fun to actually have him come in as a different thing. And even if, we're only taking the title, really. We're just swapping out the name of the character. But,
let me see something here.
Those are just legendary movies. The Blackula movies are just legendary. So,
Marshall,
it's just a great title. Scream, MicroBoy Scream. But maybe part one is the story that we've
passed
already.
Away in 2003.
So he would have been
still
around.
Would have been around when we want to do this episode.
And if he says no, we'll get someone like Bernie Casey to do it, because I love Bernie Casey. I think he's great.
And the other thing is that William Marshall is also known for a very famous episode of Star Trek.
Which episode was he?
Ultimate Computer.
Was that TOS?
Yep.
I don't even remember what that. There was a few episodes that could basically be boiled down to Kirk versus a computer in TOS. So it's hard to. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint which one that was.
That's the one where they installed the M5 computer into the Enterprise for war games to see if they can have Starfleet ships with less crew.
I don't remember that one particularly.
It's a great episode.
TOS is one of those ones I've seen from start to finish once, and that's it. It's not my favorite Star Trek. Like I'm more of a Berman era. TNG through Voyager is my Star Trek era. So those are the ones I've seen multiple times. But I don't remember that one particularly. There were so many Kirk versus a computer episodes in TOS. Like, wasn't there like 4 or 5?
Let's see. There
were a lot. I seem to remember, unless my memory is just like making
Return of the Archons, which was the computer Landru.
Landru is one I remember, just because I like the name. It's what should we call it? We'll call it Andrew. Why? It's a reference to an Asimov thing. Oh no, we've got to change it. We'll call him Landru. It's like,
For the world is hollow and I have touched the sky. That's another one. The Ultimate Computer.
Yeah.
That's 3.
I'm sure there were more than that. What's the one where Kirk ends? Which one is the one where Kirk ends it by basically telling the computer that you're malfunctioning and should kill yourself?
That's Return of the Archons with Landru.
Right. Okay. That's why I remember that one. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Also the Changeling.
Just only Captain Kirk can debate a computer to death.
It's a trope.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. They need to do an episode like that for Strange New Worlds at some point. I don't think we've had an episode yet where they're going up against an AI, but I guess Pike technically already has, because that was the main plot for season 2 of Discovery.
With Control.
Yeah, which I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it at the same time. Seasons 1 and 2 of Discovery, I think, are just fine. I really prefer all the stuff once they reach the future, like especially the first few episodes of season 3. It feels very much like a frontier in space. It's wagon train to the stars, I always say.
Which is exactly how Roddenberry described it to the network when he pitched it.
That's why I love Discovery post Time Jump. I think it's plus I think they just found their footing a lot more. They're not perfect seasons. The pacing is terrible at times, just because when you do these serialized shows, there's always a few episodes in the middle where it just feels they're biding their time before they can get to the finale. Like season 2 of Picard was awful for that. Season 2 of Picard would have been an absolutely brilliant 3-part episode. But spread over 10, it's just kind of slow and boring, and there's just a load of stuff that just happens just purely because something needs to happen this episode. So yeah, we're going off really off topic with the Star Trek talk, but yeah. But yeah, maybe part 1 would be the episode we've talked about so far, but part 2 would be the villain arc.
Yeah,
potentially. What other things do you think could happen along the way in part 2 to make him turn full villain? Because part 1, I think the whole point should be that we're following him and actually feeling sorry for him because there's a couple of accidents, all of this, he's very much just trying to get away from people that are trying to kill him in part 1. But then in part 2, like, he shifts over to become full villain once he's become a robot.
Okay. Let's see.
Maybe you could just loosely adapt the KOTOR. KOTOR, did you say? KOTOR. Like, just loosely adapt that story somehow. But you can't do the twist ending where it's like, you can't really. I don't think it would work necessarily, but you could still have a lot of the same set pieces. You could have like the main fight scene from the comic. You could adapt that probably. Yeah. I would like, though, by the end of the episode, even though he's turned full villain over the course of the episode, it would be kind of cool if by the end they've sort of been able to bring him back. You could always leave it open that it could happen again. Like, you could say, like, he's still very mentally unstable, but at least for now, he's on our side again.
Yeah,
I don't know. I always like seeing redemption stories for villains, especially one that's as tragic as a character like MicroBoy. And do you think you would have to
I have an idea. I have an idea. He digs up Julianne's body and he wants to expose her to the microwave energy that resurrected him.
You want to do a Bride of Frankenstein type thing? Yeah.
And
maybe we could stick Stacy in a big wig with a grey streak. Still with red hair, but just one white grey streak. Yeah. But then it could turn out that she can't love him while he's doing monstrous things. Like, that could be the thing that brings him back by the end of the episode. It could be similar to the scene in Super Menace. Where Lana comes in at the end and helps Superboy break the red kryptonite. Although, the second dose of red kryptonite in the story is canonically what cured him. But I still think Lana had a major part to play in that.
Yeah.
But it could be a similar sort of thing where his wife is like, she could say, like, I love you, but you are terrifying right now. Like, and maybe, she's like, if you don't get your shit together, I'm not going to stick around. Like, how did you think this was going to end? She could say, like, and maybe just seeing through his wife's eyes what he's become could be the thing, that the catalyst for change that makes him catch himself, basically, and become a good guy again by the end. I think that would be fun. Similar, I guess, kind of to the end of Kryptonite Kid, in a way, I guess. Doesn't he, by the end, the Kryptonite Kid, kind of eventually they get through to him or something? It's been a while since I've seen it. I think the last time I watched it was on commentary.
What happens at the end is the one they get through to is Vic, because he runs in, puts the blanket over him, the lead-lined blanket.
But, like, Vic was talking to to Kryptonite Kid at one point, and he was like, they can cure you at the base and all of this. And, like, he did start to get through to him. But I guess then MicroBoy realized, not MicroBoy, then he realized he was being tricked with an imposter Superboy. And I guess that's when he went mad again. But maybe we'd do a similar sort of scene, except it actually works and he does become a good guy again. You could always do another episode down the line if you wanted to, but I think that would be a pretty good conclusion to the story.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a fun.
Here's an idea why he could have gone bad. Not just the fact that he's in a robot body. Maybe the professor, who's played by William Marshall, when he's building the robot body or the android body, he's using the technology from the alien, the android assassin from Rest in Peace. And it's still got some of his programming in there.
That could be fun. Yeah. And maybe, there could be bits and pieces that are taken from, notes from when the military gave Metallo some upgrades as well. And it could just be like, it could be fun to see like his new robot body. You could have like a couple of just little elements that hint at where it's come from. Like that one robot, like, is it in Rest in Peace? It's the robot and he's wearing what looks like a big bike helmet. He's got a mustache.
That's War of the Species.
That's War of the Species. Right. The other one, he wore the vest shirt with no sleeves sort of thing. And yeah, he was like a blonde Terminator.
Yeah, he was the assassin character from Living Daylights with Timothy Dalton.
Yeah. Did he, by the end of the episode, am I right in remembering in that episode we actually do see some of the internal workings, or is it literally just we're told he's a robot? It's been a while,
We're told he's an android, and then he explodes when he quote unquote completes his mission.
Yeah, but that could be fun. Maybe you wouldn't be able to see any components from that version then, but maybe we could just stick like a telephone wire up his arm or something to indicate that he's got some pieces of Metallo in him as well.
Yeah.
Maybe they even have to power it with kryptonite. Maybe they use red kryptonite this time.
Well, remember, red kryptonite didn't have any energy output.
Yeah, so but this could be a couple of years later. Maybe they finally figured out a way.
I think we should just stick with the whole microwave energy.
Yeah.
And have it.
Yeah, because he would be able to power it himself. He'd have it internally. Like if they have any of his original body parts in there, like it could be a really quite dark, twisted thing where it's like, oh, how many pieces from his original body are left? It's like, well, there's a piece of his brain, obviously, because he needs to retain his memories. Like maybe his heart is in there. It could just be like some really quite creepy thing like that.
I would say his brain, his heart, and his nervous system, which means his spine is there too.
How about just the spine? Just purely because it might be partly good with his whole villain arc. If part of the reason, like he's in a robot body, he can't feel anything anymore. Like he's just like, all I feel is just cold metal. I just feel like nothing. Like that would be
basically Metallo from Superman the Animated Series.
Yeah, and it would just really screw with his brain. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about Metallo from the Animated Series, but you're right. That was exactly that was what sent him mad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't Metallo in Lois and Clark go a bit mad that he couldn't feel anything as well? Something like that. I don't remember. I know
it's been a while since I watched that episode, so
I just remember when he first had the robot body, he said that he was feeling weird or something. I don't know. It's been a while. Either way, I think that would work. It'd be a fun two-parter. Yeah, Run MicroBoy Run and Scream MicroBoy Scream. Although we could just call the second one Bride of MicroBoy. But yeah, maybe not. Yeah, I think that would be a fun episode.
Yeah.
Let us know what you thought. Did you enjoy this episode? I realise it's kind of a strange format where we just sort of pieced it together as we went. Yeah, I think that would have been fun.
Yeah, and if you would
maybe we'll just say that, you know what, maybe at some point when we eventually go back to doing more season 5 episodes, maybe one of the episodes we'll just say we're skipping an episode because last week was the MicroBoy 2-parter, which is go see this episode to watch.
Yeah,
it's in Metropolis. He's Superman, not Superboy in this version. That's basically the only change. Yeah, that could be fun. Maybe you could even say that Skull had something to do with it, since they had so much to do with the second Metallo. That could be a way to, fit it in with what we've already established. But yeah, that wouldn't require us actually doing a separate episode for it. It's just, that's what this is. At some point in season 5, maybe there's a 2-part MicroBoy episode. Or Microman, maybe we'll call him in this, since he's a grown-ass man by the time he died, so calling him boy probably would have been a little bit odd. But I think that would be a fun little 2-parter. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Don't know what we'll be doing yet. As always, we'll decide on the day. Whatever sounds fun. So, goodbye.
Viacom.